I want us to look at reversing famine in our nation. So Jeremiah 29 verse 7, it tells us that when our nation prospers, we likewise will prosper as well. When the economy thrives, we will thrive as well. So the scripture encourages us to pray for our nation. That we will do. But then we also understand that faith without works is dead. So, over and above our prayer for our nation, we should also know what we need to work on, work at, and also work with. Genesis 41, we found there not only a story of how a young man was delivered, not only a story how a Hebrew man got out of jail and ended up in the palace. We found not just a story of a man that had been badly dealt with in life for the past 13 years, all of a sudden found rescue from God. We also find in Genesis chapter 41 rather, we also find in there tips on how a nation can do well even in famine season in the world. We found tips on what a country can do. Of note is the fact that there was going to be famine in all over the world. And God revealed it ahead of time. And the nation that you will call the nation of the children of God, that is Canaan land, was taken over by the famine. But Egypt, that did not have a covenant with God, but because they had the right approach to reversing the effect of famine in the land, they escaped the influence of famine in their land. So they weren't even covenant people. So maybe you've been asking questions, how come there are people who are not covenant children of God as we know us to be? How come they are very, very prosperous? Maybe you have an answer to that from this text. When you're wondering why people in the house of God are poor, in some cases that even you have a phrase such as the person is as poor as a church rat, because there is seems to be any leftover in church, so to speak. So it's important that we pay attention to this. This that I'm about to teach, you can apply it for your business, but we will contextualize it this morning in addressing our nation. What a critical time we are. Election has just taken place in my home state, where we are going to have another government for the next 4 years. Next year, Nigerians will go to the polls as well. And through that process, we might be determining the fate of the country for the next 4 years, if we are not talking about the next 8 years or 16 years. So it's important that we understand that we have a part to play. We should not be deceived that politicians, according to Ben Carlson, one of the presidential candidates in the United States of America, had said that we should not be deceived that the deliverance of a nation will come from politicians. That we should not even forget the fact that it was even the politicians that actually brought the problems in the first instance. So even as we approach the polls, we must understand we have a part to play. Because if we leave it to politicians, we might just get what we've been getting all these years. So that is why I believe that this message is important. In as much as we are interested in our own prosperity, in as much as we are interested in our own progress, Jeremiah 29:7 makes us to understand that except, we do our bit to make our nation prosper, we may not experience the kind of prosperity that we should. So let's try and see what we can do for our nation so that our nation can then in turn do something for us. The first thing I'd like to talk about will be Genesis 41, just to do a recap briefly. Joseph was in the prison. Genesis 41. Bible tells us that 2 years or so after he had met with the butler and the baker, that Pharaoh had a dream. A disturbing dream, or may I say, disturbing dreams they were. He had 2 sets of dreams, which Joseph later clarified to him that they were 2 of a kind. That in the mouth of 2 or more witnesses, a truth is established, that God has given to him the dream in 2 different forms, just for him to know that this is going to come to pass. So, he had the dream, he was disturbed by the dream, and he called on his magicians, told them what the dream was about. None of them could interpret the dream. So all of a sudden the butler says, some 2 years ago when you punished us, O king, there was a man who interpreted our dreams to us, and just like he interpreted it, he was. And so Pharaoh requested for Joseph to come out of the dungeon. And when Joseph came out, he told him the dream. And Joseph interpreted the dream and also gave counsel. And then because of the counsel and the steps that Pharaoh took, Egypt was excused from the effect of that famine. So, a nation that wants to reverse famine must, number one, have a leader with a dream or a vision. A dream or a vision. A dream or a vision is the capacity for you to be able to see beyond your nose. Very important. The capacity for you to be able to see beyond your nose. If all you see is now, if all a nation sees is now, the nation is going to be trapped in the issues of now and will never be ready for the future. If you are going to get married, you need a spouse with a dream. If you are not going to be miserable in marriage, you need a spouse with a vision. When you have a dream and you have a vision, you are able to tolerate the challenges of today. Your dream and your vision becomes the energizer. So when a nation has a dream or a vision, the populace is energized to do whatever they need to do to be able to get to the dream and the vision they have seen. So it is important. And as it is with the case of Nigeria, having seen so many leaders who have come with what they have labeled visions. You will remember Vision 2020. We are in 2022. We need to go onto the internet to familiarize ourselves with what Vision 2020 was, because it's not in reality. So, I am not just going to generalize what the leader must have or the nation must have as just a vision. It has to be a vision that can be planned. A vision with a plan. So we have so many people who have vision, but they can't plan the vision. You have so many people who want to prosper on their job. But obviously, when you look at them, they have no plan they're working with. Because if you want to have progress on your job, it should be evident from what you do that you are working towards something. People should be able to decode your plan. Your punctuality on the job, your effectiveness on the job, your capacity to want to be helpful on the job. Trying to show other people that I can help you to get your job done. All of that speaks volume when we're talking about someone with a plan for a vision. So this vision, if it's going to be planned, if it's going to be plannable, in quote, Pastor Femi's English, it will have to be informed of God. He will have to be informed of God. Pharaoh had a vision that was not informed by his flesh. He had a dream that was not informed by the fact that he ate too late at night, or he went to bed hungry. That was not why he saw grains and saw the cows. You know, some people, because you long to have certain meal and you couldn't get it when you go to sleep, you begin to dream about eating it. That's not the kind of dream and vision we're talking about. This was from the throne of grace. So a nation would need a vision. We have contestants now for 2023 election. So a lot has been said that we need to get our PVCs. And PVCs we should get, because without the PVC you have no voice at all. Without PVC you have no voice. It may not be convenient for you to get PVC, but do everything, because that is your voice. That is the tool that you can contribute into choosing who our leaders will be. And it's worth it, because the prosperity of the nation will also affect your own prosperity. So if you have to take time off at work, and then let us be smart, let us be intelligent with the way we do our PVCs. I was on television yesterday listening to what was happening, the challenges around these things, where some people will be in the east, working in the east, but they want to vote in the west. But then they will register at a place that is close to their workplace. And when the election day comes, they won't be able to get to that polling booth to vote. It doesn't make sense. Let's think 3-4 steps ahead. We have to be people of vision. We have to be able to see beyond our noses. Why would you go get a PVC in a polling booth that is far away from your house? Because the day of the voting, you already know that it is going to be holiday and movement is going to be restricted 100%. So why do you want to waste your capacity to be able to influence good leadership in our country? So if you have already made that mistake, do whatever it is that you can do legally. Find out from INEC people, how do you move your polling booth to a place where you are likely going to be when you want to vote. So PVC is important, but make sure that you have your PVC in such a way that it is usable to you. So that's the first thing we all have to do. Before the election, still talking about vision and the dream of our leaders for our nation. Since it was the vision and the dream of Pharaoh that helped to get the nation out of famine when even a place like Canaan land was affected. Why was Canaan land affected? Because the man who had the capacity to dream and envision had already been exported to Egypt.